Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL for some more action from the PlayStation F1 tier here in Season 28. Last time out, we had one of the shortest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar in Austria. Pretty much the complete polar opposite here, the longest circuit in Formula 1 at the moment. Spa-Francorchamps for the historic Belgian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me once again in the commentary box is Dan Field. Dan, how are you doing?
Brilliant as always. It's a pleasure to be back here for this brilliant circuit. 7 kilometers in distance. We're going to be expecting lap times of the low 40s. I'd say if we're lucky, we're going to maybe see a 39. But I think that might just be out of the reaches of our F1 drivers. I know that in the PC tier, a couple of the esports guys like Barry and Jarno, I think they managed to get into the 39s, but we probably won't be seeing it here in Belgium today.
No, definitely. Talking to some of the drivers, they said 39 is probably going to be out of reach, but definitely expect a low 40s, judging by some of the practice times that we have seen. Last time out at the Austrian Grand Prix, it was quite an interesting race. It looked as though Vasta Racer was going to take the victory from pole position, but in the end, he just missed out, and it was actually his teammate, VSR Jordan, taking the victory at Austria, and he must be feeling pretty good about tonight because of course he won here last season in season 27.
Yeah, Jordan is on a bit of a high at the moment. Of course, he really so tactful last race. He picked his opportunity to go for the move, and he managed to make it stick and take the win with only leading about 1 or 2 laps of the entire Grand Prix. So it was really opportunistic from him to take that win in Austria. Whether he can replicate his previous performance, where he won last time out, well, that remains to be seen. But around this circuit, actually, I believe we've gone here since I think in the last 6 seasons. We've come here 5 times, so this really is a favourite on the PSGL calendar. I know a lot of these drivers love the circuit.
Yeah, they do indeed. Definitely a fan favourite as well. A circuit that I always enjoy watching. You can see the rest of the results then from last week. Samuel Bean finishing in second, and he won here in F2 last season, so maybe another one to watch out for. Wilson Hughes getting his first podium, courtesy of, and he admits it himself, a bit of a harsh decision to take Benjamin to the stewards for crossing the pit line, but rules are rules. That dropped Benjamin down into 9th. First podium of the year for our reigning champion Wilson, and the first points of the year for the man who finished second last season, VSR used. CRG Gamer, our championship leader, finished in 5th position, and he stays leading in the championship. Samuel Bean is now just 2 points behind, and you can see Wilson there popping his way into the top 10 in the championship standings. And the performance from the 2 McLaren drivers means they are still leading the constructors as well, but things are looking pretty close between them. Williams only 1 point behind then. AlphaTauri still yet to get off the mark, but let's head out onto the circuit then. A very overcast Spa-Francorchamps circuit, and I think that should surprise absolutely no one given the weather in the Ardennes Mountains. And let's see what Hughes can do then on a hot lap of this circuit into La Source. Turn 1, drops down to first gear, quickly short shifts up into 3rd gear, and then heading down the hill past the old start. Finish straight, still used by some of the GT racers up Eau Rouge and Radillon. Used to be a very challenging corner in Formula 1. Now with the modern downforce levels in the dry, very straightforward indeed. DRS open as you come down the Kemmel Straight. This will be the main overtaking point in the race. One of 2 DRS zones into Lecombe, right and left. Scene, of course, of Rosberg and Hamilton coming together in 2014. Then into Malmedy. Watch out for that curb on the left-hand side, because it is very, very easy to invalidate, and we've just seen him do that. So let's go on board with last week's with Jordan then into Bruchel. This hairpin can sometimes see overtakes into here. Quite often, though, the drivers do lock up the tyre. It is easy to run wide through No Name, then keeps nice and steady off of the curb. Now into Pouhon, probably now the trickiest corner on this circuit. Down a gear, very small lift from the Haas driver through the second part of Pouhon, staying over to the left-hand side of the track as you come into the medium-speed campus chicane. 4th gear through there, shifted up to 5th through the left-hand part. Nice and standard from him. Then into Stavolo and curve ball through. Nice and careful on the exit of this one. That wall on the left-hand side just juts out ever so slightly. If you carry too much speed, the car will understeer and you may well head towards that wall, and that would be the end of your race. Into Blanchimont again, used to be a big challenge, simple flat out for these drivers, even in race trim, when they'll have full fuel. Then into the bus stop chicane. Reprofile for 2005 does provide pretty good overtaking opportunity if you dare into that corner on the brakes. So the first one from Jordan, 140.862. Reasonably happy with that, I imagine, given that's, of course, a banker lap. Duncan goes just behind also on a 104.8, and Will goes fastest, again, 140.8. So drivers doing pretty well at the moment. Wilson, though, 140.593. I saw him in practice. He was looking very consistent around here.
Yeah, it's a really strong time coming out from Wilson there. Midnight does really enjoy this circuit as well. He puts it into P2, of course, newly becoming a Mercedes driver after we've unfortunately lost Matthijs. He's dropped out from the championship. Midnight, who's previously a reserve, has now taken his position. A couple more drivers coming through the final sector. Gamer has unfortunately invalidated at best. Currently to the first sector session, Young Power beginning off on his lap. I believe the first person to finish up on this lap is going to be Wouters, and then he's got a Mercedes car behind him. It's P8 for the Renault driver, and we'll see what Casper can do as well. I believe he can go the 40.9s. I think it's going to be the region. He actually does me one better. He does a 40.8, putting him just ahead of his VSR compatriot in Duncan, and right behind his other VSR compatriot in Jordan.
So you can see the times are very close at the moment then. Wilson fastest in the second and third sector. Samuel is going very quick. He was purple then in sector 2. So what can the Williams driver do? Second in the championship at the moment. Perhaps a bit of a dark horse for this season. Let's see what he can do as he floors the throttle towards the line. 140.577, 16 thousandths ahead of Wilson Hughes. I think last week proved the doubt was wrong. Anyone who believed that first race of the season at Bahrain Short was a bit of a flash of a pan. Fantastic performance to get second in Austria and provisional pole position here. Still a lot of drivers to set a lap time. Young Power, we'll see what he can do on his lap then. He'll be feeling pretty good about his promotion, obviously, to Formula 1, and he's coming in some good form. Do you reckon he could maybe shake up the order and get a few podiums, perhaps even a win this season?
Yeah, I definitely think that he's got a good opportunity for it, and of course he is scoring really strongly in F2. He took 2 wins in 3 races, so he's been really confident, I'd say, coming into this one. Now taking up the Red Bull seat as Lee has dropped to reserve, as he's got recon just in his way. That might have put him off on his final sector here, but now at the final corner, putting the power down to cross the line. What's Young Power going to do? If 12 passes for him, he's probably still going to be teething into this F1 grid. You know, it's not as easy as translating it over from F2, because of course the pressure rides from when you're put into a top position. So I think Young Power, if he could just maybe sneak into the points this race, I think he'd be quite happy with himself.
Yeah, I think he would be indeed. Probably just what he's aiming for. I think AlphaTauri definitely aiming for points. Their drivers 5th and 14th at the moment. Samuel Bean, though, is the fastest then on his own tonight. Asuso unable to make it, and Vasta Racer not feeling too well, so he's unable to make it. So we are down to 18 drivers, 14 of those setting a lap time at the moment. Sam the fastest, Wilson, Midnight, Simo and Will LG. And given that it is such a long circuit here, it is pretty surprising to see just how close the lap times are at the moment. Midnight, less than a tenth of a second ahead of Walters. That is currently the difference between 3rd and 10th. So very close in times between the two Shazoo drivers. Quite far apart in positions around here. We'll see what Benjamin can do on his lap. And if Young Power needs any inspiration, Benjamin's a good person to look at. Won the F2 title last time round, last year. Got a podium on track last time in Austria. Of course, got a penalty, so he gets some points deducted. But he's had points in every race so far. And he's been really consistent, you've got to say.
Yeah, he's been really strong coming into the season, coming up from F2 as well. He's got to be happy with the performances so far, but I think he's going to be a little bit frustrated that he lost out to that podium. It's quite a hard penalty. He only just about extended the pit entry, but I guess the rules are the rules, so he was unfortunately taken away from him from that podium as coming through, I believe, no name there, and he's slid through the corner. Luckily, he didn't run wide and invalidate. Very easy to do there, but through P1. Interesting enough, I think he put it into 8 on entry, where I find it quicker to go in through 7th, but what does the commentator know, I suppose, through this little S's section on the run up towards Stabilo, the the lowest altitude part of the circuit. We'll see his second time, 12.5. This could be a pretty strong lap actually coming out from Benjamin here in that race point 5. Currently his teammate at the moment, Blizzard, who has managed to get into the session on a 0.9 at the moment. So I think Benjamin is going to want to beat his teammate. He's been doing that pretty consistently so far this season through the final sector now. He's got Ashbest just beginning up on the lap. I don't think he's going to be impeding him too much. He might actually help him down the straightaway, giving a slight toe to cross the line. It's the first time for Benjamin there. It's a 1:40.5, just about 200 quicker than Samuel Bean. A really good time coming out from Benjamin.
Yeah, it was a fantastic lap from him. Benjamin wasn't the fastest in every sector. He was just really consistent. Simo currently fastest in Sector 1. Samuel being fastest in Sector 2. And Wilson fastest in Sector 3. Reigning championship leader CRG Gamer goes into 9th position. Another driver to join all those on a 1:40.865. So we've now currently got 9 drivers separated by a tenth of a second. The entire field by half a second. Around what is, of course, the longest circuit on the calendar. So things are looking very close. Let's see what Ashbest can do then. He's found a bit of form. I think he's got a bit of confidence back after that podium earlier on in the season. I think he knows he's not going to be regularly challenging for wins, but he's a wise head. He's been around a while. Definitely going to pick up points this season, especially when others are faltering.
Yeah, of course, Ashbest does have that experience in the F1 grid. He's been here for a very, very long time, and I think he is one of the league admins as well. So a very respectable member of the PSGL community. And I do have to agree, he actually just invalidated on his run through Stablo, so that's not going to be a valid lap time for him. Only 2 drivers yet to put in a lap, himself and Hughes, but the entire field spread at the moment. Recon's in 16th as Wilson Hughes actually just goes to the top. I was going to say he was 5/10 off of the leaders, but now it is about 6.5, because that is a brilliant lap time in the middle of the session for Wilson to go right to the top. He's retaken that pole position, and Blizzard's across the line as well, doing the exact same lap time as Samuel Bean.
Yeah, so that is just a sign of how close things are at the moment. It's all looking very crowded in the middle sector, which is surprising for a circuit obviously being as long as this one. They all seem to be finding the same part of the track. Gamer just getting well out of the way, on board with Recon, the slowest man out of those that has set a time at the moment. As you said, how close things are. It does look like he's improving in both of the sectors. There we go, goes up into 7th place, just behind his teammate. On this occasion, one of the VSR drivers coming towards the finish line. Now I think that's Duncan, who's actually on an outlap on this occasion. Who else have we got? Used coming around the final sector now. 1:12.608 as he comes through the final sector. Looking pretty good at the moment. Doesn't look like that will be a time, though, to challenge the fastest. One of the Mercedes heads towards the line. That is Casper. He went up to 6th place just behind his teammate. So that is how close things are getting at the moment. Quite a few teams going 2x2 at the moment. Racing Point 2-3, Mercedes 5-6, Alpha Tauri 8-9. This session has flown by at the moment. Used heading towards the line. He's kept it quick on this occasion. He's kept it clean. And it is quick indeed. Goes into second. 1-2 in the championship last year. Are currently 1-2 on the grid. It's not been the best of starts to the season for Used, but you can argue he's not really done a lot wrong. He's been a bit unlucky with certain things, certain weather conditions. For example, in Singapore, had to get a penalty removed last time to get points, and maybe just getting them points might give him a boost for the rest of the season.
Yeah, of course, he managed to pick up 4 points last time out in Austria, but before that, he hadn't scored in the top 10 at all this season. This could be the boost that he does need, starting up from a higher position. I know he's not had really the best qualifying performances so far this season. That's kind of, I suppose, just ruined him in terms of his race trim, but yeah, I think he will certainly have some level of a confidence boost coming into this race, and well, I think that is evident from his lap time there. We got 5 minutes left to go in this session. Young Power, I thought he was pushing on a lap, but it seems like he's actually backed off right at the very death of it. I think that's because he was probably catching a bit of traffic in Mish, and I believe that is Will LG in front of him. I think he did actually have to get past Recon as well on the way in, so unfortunate from Young Power. He's not been able to improve on that lap. Someone who has just improved is I think an Alfa Romeo driver. That was Duncan going into P3.
Yeah, Duncan P3, and he actually didn't go faster than his personal best in Sector 1, so who knows if he found a bit of time on this Sector 1. One of the longest flat-out runs, really, on the calendar. It's all about just getting it right, coming out of La Source Sector 1, going flat through Eau Rouge and Radillon. Be very careful at the start of the race not to go side by side, and then this fantastically long slipstream. And Belgium, I talk about this a lot, it's one of those tracks where you have to make a compromise. Do you go for straight line speed, be very fast in the first and third sector, but probably not as quick in qualifying, but you can do some overtakes? Or do you go for a bit more downforce, be faster overall, but know that if you're stuck in traffic, it's going to be very difficult for you to overtake? It's always something you've got to think about, especially on tracks like this.
Yeah, and that is what I do love about Belgium, is that with how much the setup really can alter around here, a lot of it is actually down to just the driver themselves to really make the overtake stick. Even though there are some places where DRS can be very strong. I've just watched Jordan unfortunately validating a very easy place to do it when he was 3/10 up on his lap through the second sector split. So he'll be kicking himself about that one there, and he's still got time to come to the pit lane and finish and begin up on another lap. We've got some drivers pulling out their pit box for an outlap. One of those is Mish. He's going to be the first driver to actually go for his final outlap. This is, of course, a very long circuit, so he has to come out pretty early, and I don't know if we'll be able to do 2 runs, but if it might actually be possible for the winner of the Singapore Grand Prix. If he can maybe make that one stick, he'll have 2 runs in him, which kind of gives him a little bit of a lifeline if he messes up in his first lap.
Yeah, definitely. I think he should just have enough time to do it. 3 minutes to go at the moment, and he's just coming down through his bruised shell, so should have enough time. As long as he doesn't get stuck in traffic, as long as he doesn't make a big mistake on his lap. And of course, you'll want to save a bit of tyres, you want to save a bit of fuel. Pirelli bring their 3 hardest tyres to this race, C1, C2, C3, and perhaps not too surprising when you've corners such as Pouhon, Eau and Blanchimont for the drivers to contend. It's a fairly straightforward one-stop strategy though. Soft medium we'd expect everyone in the top 10 to go for, and those outside of the top 10 most likely will go for the medium soft strategy.
I think, yeah, that is pretty much got to be the strategy choice. It's not really too powerful around him, which I do also like. It kind of puts more of the pressure onto the driver. They don't get a freeway out for qualifying outside the top 10. So you do see drivers pushing a lot harder for pole position. Of course, the advantage of starting outside the top 10 and being able to do the alternate strategy is that later on in the Grand Prix, you'll have the softer compound of tyres, and as well as you'll be on lighter fuel load, so you won't actually be putting as much into the tyres. I'm seeing 2 drivers. It looks like they're actually having a fight here with G and Benjamin. I don't know what either of them are doing. They're both on their outlap, but I believe Mish has just begun on his lap, so he's kind of avoided the bulk of the traffic, and if he messes up, he'll be able to join in right on at the back of the queue.
Yeah, like I say, it always amazes me, especially on tracks like this, how everyone seems to find the same bit of tarmac, and then at circuits like Monaco, they know they have to space out because they know how tight it is. It is quite miraculous at times. We'll see what Mish can do then as he comes through the first sector. 500ths up on his personal best, and that is actually a faster time than what Wilson's done, who's currently in P1 in the first sector. So maybe that's a setup choice, seeing as Wilson is the fastest of anyone in Sector 2 at the moment. Maybe Mish has gone for a bit less drag on that Ferrari in the perhaps complete opposite of what Ferrari were known for last season. We'll see then now as he heads down towards Pouhon. Another driver to go for that slight lift, going down to 7th gear, perhaps running a touch wide on the exit. Casper gets well out of the way at the moment. Casper actually being engineered by Matthias tonight. So Matthias, despite leaving the Mercedes team, still having a bit of a say at the moment, a bit more of an ambassadorial role, if you will. And old Mish 4/10 up, very fast through the middle sector. He's just invalidated his lap. Now he's just going to save some ERS, head towards the finish line, but he's not got long at all.
Yeah, that is, I think he's just got enough time to do it. He will have to maybe, actually no, I think he can probably push right until this lap, but I think he's backing off ever so slightly, just so he doesn't catch the 2 Red Bull cars beginning up on their laps. But we do have a couple of drivers on runs at the moment. Someone who is improving at the moment is our season 27 champion, Wilson Hughes. He's purple through the second sector by about 0.2 of a second up on his previous time. This could be a really strong time from Wilson if he does manage to make a stick. Simo has gone fastest through the first sector, so we'll have to watch out for him later on his run. But here is Wilson. Midnight is unfortunately just invalidated, coming through the bus stop chicane. This could be the pole lap for the Scotsman that he really does need to get his season completely kicked into gear. Crossing the line, it's going to be a 40.1, and that is going to be a tough time to beat.
Fantastic time then from last season's champion Wilson Hughes, really nailing the end of that lap. You've got Blizzard coming around the final corners. Now looks like he's improving ever so slightly. What can he do? Goes up into second place. His teammate though, Benjamin, is finding a lot of time, and he takes second back off his teammate. Racing Point looking very rapid here at the moment. Used now coming around the final corner as Gamer goes up into 5th place. Used goes back into 2nd place. Fantastic job from him. Midnight's invalidated his lap. 8's the best he's going to do, and it's been a bit of a nightmare end to the qualifying session as Casper made a mistake on his outlap, I think, and couldn't actually get round in time. Now Simo, he makes it around the final corner. Can he move his way up the order? Only in 10th position for now. Samuel Bean ditching his lap. He's coming to the pits. Last week's race winner Jordan now. He makes his way around the final corner. The Solal Haas representative tonight. What can he do? Big improvement from him. Goes up into 7th place. Valters, another driver to ditch it into the pits. Young Power following Ash Best around. Ash, the only driver yet to set a time. Ash goes up into 12th place. Young Power goes up into the top 10, into 8th place. Not a bad lap from him on debut. Mish did manage to get another lap in. He goes into 13th. Duncan goes into 5th place. I think Christmas has backed off on his lap as well. He has indeed, running out of fuel, and I'm not sure if he's made a mistake anywhere. It doesn't look like he's got any damage, but I think it's fair to say that Wilson, he's got his spark back after last week. Top of the timing charts in this session. That's not always the best thing, though, at Spa, because of that long slipstream coming out of La Source.
Yeah, some people do agree that maybe P2 into the first corner is the place where you want to be, where you can use the slipstream down the straightaway, but that is all going to be up to Wilson Hughes and whether how he gets his start. But this is really what he needed. A strong time coming out from him to put it on pole position. He just knew that he had it in there, and he's managed to go to the top by just a little over half a tenth ahead of his main championship rival from last season, Houston Benjamin, P3. And that is a really strong time. I do believe last season he finished very well in F2 in Belgium. But yeah, really good time for him to go in third.
Yeah, you can see Blizzard, Duncan, Gamer, Jordan, Young Power, Samuel Bean and Midnight. The rest of the top 10. Casper will have that alternate strategy in 11th place, which, as we say, sometimes it's more powerful, not necessarily always around Belgium. It's not one of the tracks where the alternate strategy is known for being amazingly powerful. It is actually quite a short time around the pit lane at this circuit. If we just get it up, you see, you only lose about 17 seconds, but with the tyre wear being so small, it's not worth going for a 2-stop. The only reason you'll see drivers go for a 2-stop is if they have some damage.
Yeah, that is only really if they get it right at the beginning of the race. If they get it a couple times, sorry, not a couple times, a couple laps into the Grand Prix, they probably could go to the end on a one-stop strategy, but be quite slow towards the end of it. So hopefully, I'm praying that no drivers pick up damage. It's very easy to get it coming in towards turn number 1 of La Source. It's a very short run, and it's a heavy braking zone. One of the only hairpins, I actually think, to begin a lap. One of the only ones on the calendar. I think USA it does count as a hairpin, but this is certainly the slowest of them all. So they'll be heading out on their outlap here, and get to see what tyres the drivers outside top 10 have opted for.
Yeah, we will indeed see what everyone has gone for with no over top 10. Unsurprisingly, given how close the field is, you can't get through to the top 10 on a set of mediums, so they will all be on the soft tyres. It's just depending on what tyres everyone else has gone for and what moves they'll be making around this historic circuit, of course, in the Ardennes for this Spa-Francorchamps. 7 kilometres, a lot shorter than the 14-kilometre beast that was used back in the day. 2 DRS zones, with the one down the Kemmel Straight being where you will see most of the overtaking. Such an undulating circuit, such a challenging circuit, but no real surprise, as we said, on the tyre front. Top 10 softs, bottom 8 mediums can definitely work their way up the order, especially if they manage to hang on to everyone in those early stages and keep in that DRS train.
Yeah, if they can stay with the top drivers, they'll be in a very strong position come the end of the Grand Prix, especially since they can go longer on this tyre and then really actually do a little bit longer, a longer stint than the soft runners would do, because they're lighter on fuel. They don't have to put as much wear through the tyres, so that is a huge advantage coming into the end of the Grand Prix. But it will be difficult keeping up with the top guys on the softs. Differences are quite large, I do believe. But I just want to bring the attention to Young Power, P8 on his F1 debut. When he only got the call up a couple days ago, he's now right nestled in the top 10. It's could be a strong race from him.
Yeah, I mean, We saw how close the field is. He's not just in between any drivers as well. He's got Jordan, winner of the last round, just in front of him. CRG Gamer, championship leader, 2 places ahead. And Samuel Bean, winner of the last round and winner of the F2 race here last season, just behind him. So he's not done bad whatsoever. Mercedes 10th and 11th on the grid. Midnight invalidating his last lap. He'll have been hoping for, I think, a bit more given his form. He was actually runner-up in F2 here last season, but could still put in a good performance depending on how he gets off the start line, and it looks like it might be a bit of a long race for AlphaTauri, the only team yet to score any points. But Michael Schumacher wants one around here from 16th position, so maybe, just maybe, there's hope for Will LG. And given how the clouds look at the moment, you never know what the weather's going to be like. You never know. There will be a few drops of rain in the Ardennes Forest, and that will make things a lot more exciting indeed. Just ask anyone who saw the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix yesterday. But it is our reigning champion, Wilson Hughes, on pole position. Got his first podium last time around. Got himself within almost a race win of his teammate, up to 6th in the championship. Can he push himself further up the order? Can Hughes get his first podium of the season to maybe kickstart his challenge? You've got the 2 racing points in behind. I'm sure they'll be desperate for a good performance as well. The lights are coming on here at Spa. We've got 5 lights. And we're underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. What are the starts like? It seems like a pretty decent start by Wilson Hughes. He's covering the outside line there quite tightly to try and just slow Hughes down ever so slightly. And that's going to give Benjamin a bit of a run on the Alfa Romeo driver on the run down through Eau Rouge. In fact, Blizzard's actually been able to get ahead of Benjamin. You can see some cars going side by side in the background. Duncan works his way past. There's a few in Mercedes getting pretty close. Gamer's having to go way over the curb at Eau Rouge, and that's going to compromise his line. That's allowed Casper through, and I think Ash Best has been able to have a go. Wouters as well, and even Will LG. It's been a disastrous start for our championship leader, but at the front of this race, Wilson Hughes leads coming into the end of Sector 1, and the timing charts all fix themselves out. Hughes is 2nd, Blizzard 3rd, Duncan 4th, Jordan getting up into 5th, Benjamin, Young Power, Midnight, Samuel Bean, Ash Best with a fantastic start, going up 4 places there, and Gamer has dropped all the way to the back and has front wing damage. A nightmare for our championship leader.
Yeah, 38% on that right front end plate for Gamer. It's a disastrous start for him in this race where he is championship leader. It's Midnight is fighting with our newly promoted Young Power here. They're going side by side through the S section. Midnight trying to hold it around the outside line, and he's made that one stick, and he's already picked up a 3-second time penalty in the process. Young Power could still try and fight him back here.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you.
Samuel Bean's off.
Samuel Bean's gone way off in the background there. He's got big front wing damage as well, so that's our top 2 in the championship. Oh, he hasn't got front wing damage. I do apologise. My camera angle just tricked me then for a bit. But down in last position then. Top 2 in the championship. We've also got a tiny bit of wing damage for Benjamin there. I didn't quite see what happened there. It looked like he almost just went straight on in the background, and Benjamin's decided his front wing's so bad he doesn't want to carry on. I wonder if he'll try and take a set of hards to the end of this race.
Yeah, it's not been a good start for Benjamin. That damage was picked up at turn number 1. I did recall a Racing Point car getting very aggressive at the beginning of the Grand Prix. It might have been an Alfa Romeo, actually. I think of Duncan diving up the inside. Casper looking to make the move, and I think this is Mish. Timing is a little bit glitched at the moment, so I'm not too sure where their position is on the circuit. They're wheel to wheel coming down the straight. I think Mish is going to use up a little bit more of his overtake than Casper to just hold on to that position for the time being. But as they cross through the first sector split, they should fix up the order completely. I do believe these guys are fighting for about 10th or 11th, I think, on circuit.
Yeah, they are indeed. It says that Samuel Bean's wheel actually disconnected, so the reason why it looked like he just went straight on is because he had no control over his car. Such a shame for him. Quite lucky in the end that he actually avoided getting any damage. Casper did drop behind Mish there. Things were getting very close together, so he is now down. Well, he's now in 10th place. Mish is up in 9th. They both moved up from their starting point, and Ash Best, now the lead car on the set of the medium tyre, so he'll be feeling pretty good about how things are going at the moment. Will Ash, as long as he can stay on the back of his teammate on this moment in time. Coming towards the end though of the second lap in this race, DRS will be active next time around. They will be able to use it for the first time down the Kemmel Straight, and as things stand at the moment, I know the timing is slightly glitched. I would take this with a big pinch of salt, looking actually how close Duncan is. I think a few of the drivers are actually going to get DRS. I think at least the top 7 or 8 are all going to be getting DRS, but they are fairly spaced out at the moment, so they won't really be using it for any overtakes. Could always use it though to save a bit of fuel and a bit of ERS to maybe have a blast later on.
Yeah, so as they cross onto lap number 3, the deltas should be fixed. The gap at the front is about 7/10 of a second, and Duncan, that gap has finally fixed itself. He's about 5/10 off the back of Blitz, but now climbing up Eau Rouge for the 3rd time in this Grand Prix. We'll see if Houston is able to get close enough down the straightaway. I don't think he would want to go for a move this early on in the Grand Prix, given the fact that it would just hand over the DRS to Wilson Hughes, who he's fighting with for the race lead. And indeed, he's not going to even attempt to go for a move. He didn't use up any of his overtake. Seems like Ash Best, one of the only drivers to actually lose out on DRS. I think he might have been able to use it down the straightaway this time, but he has now dropped out of the 1 second window that he needs on Young Power, and Midnight is struggling a little bit as well, just losing touch with the top 5. He's almost stepping out of the DRS range. Could push him back into the way of Young Power in 7th position. 2 Red Bulls going pretty strongly at the moment, as I was on board with Christmas there, and he almost lost the car through No Name, I believe that was, but he has been able to hold that on. But it seems like, other than the damage from Gamer and Benjamin, it's been a pretty clean start to the race.
Yeah, it has done indeed. Interestingly, that Gamer feels like he can hold it off on with that bigger front thing damage than Benjamin had, as Benjamin's decided he wasn't worth it for him, and he's going to come into the pits. Christmas all over the back of Simo then. Simo looking a bit wild through the campus chicane then. Now will the Renault driver be able to have a chance? I think he is actually the only one of the 2 Renault drivers that has scored points so far this season. With that 5th place in the crazy weather affected Singapore Grand Prix, he's not close enough though to really have a go into that bus stop chicane. If anything, Simo was a bit closer to Will LG, but wasn't really close enough either. We've hit that DRS train point of this Belgian Grand Prix. You tend to get it a lot on F1 2020 at this moment in time, especially now all the drivers are so close to the match together, and you can see that by the timing point. A massive long 15-car train at this moment in time, and it's a bit early yet to come into the pits, but you've got to say, in a couple of laps' time, if you're one of those at the back of this train, Jordan, Midnight, Young Power, it might be worth coming in, getting some free air, and seeing if you can pull off the undercut.
Yeah, of course, the tyres will be a little bit shot at the end of the Grand Prix. They won't be feeling really good, and I'm just actually going to quickly check on that little information bit where it says the tyre life of all of the tyres around this circuit. So the softs can last about 10 laps, and they'll be on 83%. So I think the drivers will actually maybe try and stretch this to around about lap 6 or 7 or 8. I think that's going to be their window. We could maybe see a undercut maybe about next lap. I'd say I don't think lap 4 is really going to be ideal for drivers to make undercuts, but some drivers, they are crazy, and they might just try a banzai strategy and just completely send it in this race. But yeah, strategy not the hugest factor around this circuit. A lot of it, you do kind of just have to drive about your wits. It's a tricky circuit, and if you make a mistake, it will chew you up and spit you out. But beginning lap number 5, I think everyone has DRS. I believe Young Power lost it for a little bit, but he managed to pick it back up. And Ashbest has also dropped off quite heavily to his teammate today. So possibly Mish could try and attack him at some point if Ashbest doesn't get the benefit coming through the next couple of parts of the circuit.
Yeah, I think Young Power realised he was dropping out and maybe just used quite a lot of his ERX to try and catch back up to the back of Midnight, although they are on pretty similar levels at the moment. Ash actually catches up ever so slightly, just coming out of the source, and that might just give him all the hope that he needed to keep hold of that DRS and defend from Mish, who is just slightly behind him. You can see the train of cars, and you can just get a bit of an idea how steep Eau Rouge and Radion is there. I managed to drive past on a bus trip to Spa Circuit. It is crazy, the altitude changes on this track, very undulating, and that seems to always be something that the drivers enjoy. Back towards the front of the field then, Hughes staying in contact with Wilson Hughes at this moment in time, both doing a very good job of saving their ERS as well. Suggests that they're not pushing too much at this point of the race, maybe just trying to stretch their tyres, maybe just trying to see how things go. Likewise for Blizzard, who is hanging on to these as well. Duncan, Jordan has a bit less ERS, but they're all doing fairly well on this occasion.
Yeah, so they're all they're kind of just saving up their ERS for potentially later on in the Grand Prix. They're all above around about 75% is what they are definitely above, and they're not just pushing too hard with the tyres. The highest wear for Wilson is 40. He's actually just clocked over to 50% on his rear left tyre. But yeah, it's around about the high 40s or low 50s for these drivers in the terms of their tyre wear. So it'll probably go maybe 1 or 2 laps before the tyres actually completely drop off. It'll be interesting to see if any of these drivers try for an undercut here. The top 3 all staying up. Duncan is in early, as is Jordan. So actually only 2 drivers from the soft runners come into the pit lane here. Neither of them have sped into the pit lane or gone to the back of each other. So that is very good to see for both these guys that expect to go onto the set and the medium tyres to run to the end.
Yeah, it is quite a tight pit lane, of course, here. Jordan coming in, last week's race winner. Duncan slotting in behind him. We'll see where they come out. Duncan should obviously still be ahead of Jordan after the pits, and you can see how close it is. And the good news for them is they're going to come out a long way ahead of Benjamin, and they're actually, though, not in too much clear air because they're not too far behind Samuel Bean and Gamer, who obviously had their troubles early on. So that frees the top 3 ever so slightly, and that now means Midnight hasn't got DRS anymore, and he's got Young Power all over the back of him on this occasion. I'd expect now, probably going to see at least one of those top 3 drivers, if not all of them, react on this lap as Jordan uses the DRS straight around the outside of Duncan to get up into 16th place.
I think that was smart from Jordan there because they are expecting to still come out probably behind Wilson. Whether they jump used is that does remain to be seen, but it is smart for him to go for the move while he can because these 2 have pitted, it is going to trigger all the action in the pit stop. The 3 drivers in front of them, Wilson, Use and Blizzard, I'd be damned if they didn't pit, and you can actually see how much ERS they are using. That pretty much confirms that they are coming to the pit, as Samuel Bean does find a way past Gamer. If these 2 are fighting, they're going to be holding up the 2 drivers that have just pitted, which is going to be a very, very big disadvantage. I think maybe Gamer might actually have been told by Wilson to, oh no, it's getting out of the way, but I was going to say possibly to hold them up, as there it is, the top 3 all coming into the pit lane. Expect Midnight and Young Power to also follow in, so the top 5, all the soft runners now pulling into the pit lane to take off the tyres that they qualified on, and we'll see where they come out in relation to Jordan and Young and Duncan.
Yeah, we will indeed see where they come out. Jordan's then on the back of Samuel Bean, who comes into the pit, so Jordan won't mind that too much because he'll get DRS then down this pit straight, and we'll keep an eye where he is. There's the pit window opening with AWS. Amazon clearly haven't got Prime turned on for that because it's a bit late, seeing as all the soft runners have come into the pits. Wilson comes out in the net lead, but you can see how much it has gained Jordan time. He makes his way past Hughes. Duncan works his way past Blizzard as well, so Blizzard losing 2 places in all of that. I wonder though if he'll be able to fight back on the run then down towards Lecombe, and used all over the back of Jordan here has used up all his ERS on that lap, so this should be a fairly straightforward pass for Used round the outside. He gets his way up into 10th, back into that net 2nd position. So Jordan the big winner in that period, and Blizzard the big loser as things stand at the moment, but he will have fresher tyres at the end.
Yep, so Blizzard dropping 2 positions. He's round to the back of Duncan. Get a little bit of a love tap to the rear of that Alfa Romeo car, but luckily no damage coming off that Racing Point front wing. I think it has been green sort of outlap for Wilson Hughes, so he's got a bigger gap than he had to use, and that is probably because he had to overtake Jordan, and that threw him off just a little bit. Christmas unfortunately picks up a 3-second time penalty. That makes it 2 of the day, the other one being Midnight at the moment, as I'm now going to think when these medium runners are going to come into the pit lane. I'd say around about lap 14, maybe a little bit earlier. 12, 13, 14 is at a guess when they come in, but that is a long way yet, so I think they're just going to try run their races and not get caught too much by their rivals. Duncan onto the back of Jordan, who seemingly is struggling at the moment. He could try maybe overtake his VSR compatriot, his fellow countryman as well, and maybe try and challenge Used and Duncan. Sorry, not Duncan, Wilson.
Yeah, we will have to see. There was a move for the lead of this race as things stand at the moment while all that was going on. Mish managed to get his way past Ash Best and has now actually managed to get over a second ahead of him, so that's putting Ash under a lot of trouble. And here you can see Casper just go straight flying past then the Red Bull driver, so that is Casper now up into 2nd place. Will we see any of those moves further back? Because Jordan really struggling on his ERS. He's pretty much a sitting duck even with the DRS down this straight. Duncan gets ahead of him 2 laps in a row. 2 Alfa Romeos flying past last week's race winner, and that is Duncan now into a net 3rd position. Will Blizzard be able to have a go next time around? And it looks as though Midnight's slightly catching up to these drivers, looking like maybe he's enjoying the medium tyres a bit more. He was about 2.5 seconds off the back of this train when he came into the pits. He's now got that within 1.5 seconds. Don't write him off if he gets within DRS range.
Yeah, he could certainly be fighting them towards the end. He's in a net P6 at the moment, so he is still scoring some pretty strong points, and this will actually be his first point that go towards a constructor. You can see Jordan losing a lot of time to Blizzard here. 2 tenths is the gap between the pair of them. I think Jordan just pushed too hard on his outlap, used up way too much overtake, and that's put him at a stark disadvantage coming into this part of the race. He's on 5% of the DRS. I think Blizzard actually might want to try for the move into the bus stop chicane. He's got nothing to lose here. He's going to have DRS on the drivers in front of him. Where's he going to go? He's going to have to go to the outside line. Jordan defending to the right-hand side. Blizzard going to be later on the brakes. Has he got the braking power? And he has made that one stick. Is Jordan going to maybe try and get him on the switch track? No, he cannot. Blizzard moving into. That is a net P4 for him. Brilliant stuff.
Fantastic move then from Blizzard. Over 100 PSGL races, and I don't think he would pulled off too many moves better than that one. Jordan was pretty much drifting around the bus stop chicane, trying to hold on to that position. Voltus is going to get past Ash Best as well, so maybe a couple of VSR drivers as you see the red lights flashing on the back of Ash Best, struggling with their ERS. Voltus and Ash getting very close together, and that is the Renault driver up into third place. Let's not forget, he finished third in the championship last season. He's not scored any points so far in this one, so he'll be hoping for a good performance as he now works his way up into third place. Used hasn't been able to get close enough again to the back of Wilson to make that move stick, as Simo now gets a penalty, and Jordan, he's just got to hope he can just stay on the back of these drivers at this moment in time. Trying to see if he has actually got any damage to his car as Jordan. Has he picked up any damage at this point in the race? And no, he hasn't. So it's just purely the fact that he's been running out of ERS that's cost him 3 positions.
He's also got about 5% more on his tyres on average to the driver behind him, so in front of him. So I think he's probably struggling with the wear as well. I just think a combination of pushing too hard, using up too much ERS, and having that undercut not really work out for him. It's not too powerful around this circuit, and that is pretty much evident from what we've seen now. But yeah, he's losing a lot of time. Midnight has dipped into the DRS range of the Haas driver, so he could possibly be putting pressure onto the back of him very, very soon. He's just about 9 tenths off the back. I think Jordan actually gained a little bit on Blizzard down through Blanchimont, but it's not enough to make a move into the bus stop chicane like Blizzard did a lap ago. So beginning lap number 10 for these guys. Mish, he's on about 47% tyre wear. That is his highest on his rear left tyre, sorry. And I think he'll start thinking about his overtake. Pit stop soon. Speaking of overtake, he's got 0% in his battery.
Yeah, so definitely I think he pushed fairly hard a few laps ago to get ahead of Ash, and that once you run it out, that's allowed Casper to close in as well. Are we going to see any more moves then further down the order? Used gets pretty close to the back of Wilson, not able to do so. So all just calming down at the moment for the battle for the actual lead of this race, and the one for the net lead as well. You can see who's come into pits so far. Basically, the top 8 still have to come in, and CRG Gamer, who is staying out an incredibly long time, especially when you consider he has got that damage. He's now got Benjamin all over the back of him. Benjamin, of course, having that problem on the first lap. Down the inside he goes, and he takes his 6th position really now for both of these drivers. And Samuel Bean as well, who's in last place. They're just hoping for a safety car.
Yep, they can probably count on it if a driver just makes a mistake somewhere on the lap. It is a very say punishing track, this one. I believe probably the place we'd most expect to crash is where the net race leaders are actually coming through now at down at Stablo on the exit. If you get a slight bit of understeer and you career straight into that wall that is right up against the circuit, it's very difficult to actually save the car, and you are most likely going to lose your wheel. But it doesn't seem like anyone's made that mistake. I'm quite surprised the game has not done it himself. Fair play to him as well, staying out this long with his damage. I think the saving grace in this race is that, well, his rivals in the championship aren't doing too well. Jordan just doesn't seem to have the pace to really keep with the leaders, and saying that he is staying within DRS range of the driver in front. Mish still yet to make his pit stop as actually Gamer falls into the pit. It'll be a set of medium tyres that will comfortably go to the end. 11 laps is far beyond really safe for him. He's going to get that wing change as well, so really good to see the Gamer's actually going to have some pace, and he'll just be praying for a safety car at this point.
Yeah, he will indeed. We're just looking back then from his teammate Wilson Hughes, qualified on pole position as Jordan picks up a 3-second time penalty, so things going bad to worse from him, and might actually give Midnight a bit more motivation to get that move done, as he has stayed within DRS range. Hughes not really close enough again when it matters, coming out of La Source, can't seem to get right onto the back of Wilson. Now, whether that's a conscious choice from Hughes from last year's championship model-up to just stay a bit further back and maybe save a tiny bit of his tyres. They're looking almost identical on the tyre wear at the moment. Two of them are identical, two tyres are within 1% of each other, which not too surprising given the fact that they did pit on the same lap. So it does look like he is going to have to do it purely on pace, purely on driver skill later on in this race if he does want to get this move and take his first win of the season. He's got Duncan just in behind him, currently in 11th place at the moment. We're nearly at the halfway point of this race, and that is when Mies is deciding he's had enough of these medium tyres. Going pretty early. I have seen this done before. Christmas coming in as well off his set of mediums. They're going to have to do 11 laps on the soft tyres. They're going to have some fantastic pace, but they might struggle a tiny bit with pace in the final few laps.
Yeah, that is going to be very touch and go for these drivers, whether they pick up a puncture as at Christmas. Wing damage, he's getting his wing replaced. I didn't know he actually picked up damage. He picked it up on lap 11, so that was last lap, and I guess that is why he decided to pit. But the gap between Mies and Wilson, I believe, is around about 7 seconds, maybe a little bit less than that. Actually, quite a bit less than that. I don't know what I was estimating. I guess the pit stop time is a lot shorter than I think it is, but yeah, he's right onto the back of Young Power, about 1.5 seconds. We'd expect that to come clattering down in the next couple of laps. Whether he can get past the Red Bull driver on his F1 debut, that remains to be seen. Of course, the great late Murray Walker said it is one thing to catch a car, it is a whole other game to overtake. So we just got to see really the pace that Mies has on these softs.
Yeah, definitely. Would expect him to get right onto the back of Young Power. You see now he's about 6.5, 6.7 seconds behind Wilson Hughes, and that time will come down, especially once he gets used to the grip on these soft tyres. So don't be surprised to see him set the fastest lap next time around, especially if he gets on the back of Young Power and gets some DRS. And this could be it for Mies. If he catches Young Power and some of the cars ahead of him on the run down out of La Source down the Camel Straight, it should be ideal. It should be fairly straightforward for him to make an overtake. If he starts catching him up just on the exit of Bruxelles, unless you're very brave, it is pretty much single file all the way up here through Blanchimont, all the way up towards the bus stop chicane. A few more pit stops then. Simo, Will and Ash coming in off a set of the medium tyres. They'll be going on to the softs. It is still then Casper in the lead of this race on this occasion. Valters in second, Recon third, and then Wilson Hughes in that net lead with 10 laps to go. And it looks as though Wilson just had a bit of a wobble there coming out of La Source straight on the ERS as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1, and that is Benjamin. Don't know whether he's made contact with someone who was trying to come into the pits, because it looks like there's a bit of front wing there from Renault, and I'm going to take a guess that it was Christmas who he's made contact with as he retires from the race, our first DNF.
Could we see Benjamin retire from the pits? I think he might actually decide to hold this one out here. Yeah, he's going to go on to the set the soft tyres to go to the end gamer, putting in the fastest lap on his fresh set of the medium compound of tyres. He's quite a long way off the back of anyone else, so I doubt he'll be fighting for positions come the end of the Grand Prix. The power of the undercut for Mies has put him at about a 4-second advantage to Ash Best behind him, who was a couple seconds ahead of the Red Bull car before they came into the pit lane, but that is still quite some margin that Mies has been able to pull, and he's closed by about 0.7 of a second just in this last lap alone on Young Power, who is struggling on his medium tyres. We'll see if he's able to get by, but I'm just wondering when Casper, Walters and Recon are coming into the pit lane, their tyres are on around about 60, 63, 64, maybe 65 at the end of the lap. I'd expect them to all pull into the pit lane here, and the two leaders, they do. So the net lead is soon going to become the actual race lead for Wilson Hughes, and that could probably spark an interest for Hughes to start attacking Wilson and maybe just kind of get a little bit of a gap between himself and the train.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be wanting to leave it too much longer. There's still obviously 9 laps to go, so he's got a bit of time, but if he sees me starting to close up to him on the soft tyres, maybe that will hold him up. We are still a bit of a long way from that happening at the moment. We'll see where Casper actually comes out relative to some of those others. He's out in 9th place. Ash Best manages to get ahead of Valters, but think Wouters is going to have the DRS here, so will we see an overtake for what is currently the final points position on this run down towards Lecombe? Ash Best just outside of the DRS range of his teammate. Misha's managed to get ahead of Young Power as well. Here comes Wouters. Is he going to go for a move down the inside? In the end, thinks better of it. So Ash holds on to that 10th place. One Red Bull holds on to the position. The other one losing a position. Mish is up into 7th, and he's got a tiny bit of free air to still use those soft tyres. About 1.5 seconds behind this train for the lead.
Yeah, Mish says those tyres still in pretty good condition in comparison to the mediums, but they will not last forever. Now he's dispatched up a driver that didn't have DRS, and he's about to latch onto the back of the train, so it's going to be really difficult for him to make up the positions. I'd expect him to close up probably by about Eau Rouge. He'll be within DRS range. That is almost guaranteed. He's also running quite wide himself there, so I'm hoping he's not picking up too many warnings to the point that he will get a penalty. Two drivers in front of him do have a penalty, Jordan and Midnight, so at the moment he is in 5th position. No matter where he finishes on circuit, if he's just within 3 seconds of these two drivers in front of him, then he will have their positions. But now he has not got DRS. He's about 1.5 seconds off the back, so I'd assume he'd close up very, very soon.
Yeah, I think we will see him starting to just close up. Last lap around, it was a 1:43.8, about a second faster than Wilson Hughes, who's leading this race, and about 7/10 faster than Midnight. He's just going to be outside of DRS range as well on the run down towards Lecombe, so that probably keeps them all safe for at least another lap. Wouters again right on the back of Ash Best here. He had a go last time around, was just a bit too far back. I don't think there's going to be a lot Ash can do about this move. Stays to the inside line in the Red Bull. Wouters is going to take the racing line. Thank you very much. Straightforward DRS pass. He works his way up into 10th. Ash not able to fight back on this lap as Simo. He retakes 12th place from Will as well. And all these drivers, of course, they're going to be working their way up the order. And you never know, they might be on the back of this train for the lead by the end of the race. And if they keep it clean, like Casper's, Wouters and Ash have at the moment, they could get some very decent points.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for some drivers who haven't really seen the light of day in the points. Casper, Wouters, these two have not had a good season so far. Actually, Wouters doesn't even have a point this season. I'm also thinking about 2 AlphaTauri cars in 13th and 14th. They only need a handful of positions here if they want to get into the points. As Mishi's now dipped into the 1 second window, just around about that margin. He doesn't seem like he's as quick really as he was on the previous lap. I guess that is because all the drivers in front have been blitzing the DRS to fight each other. So I'll give it to Niche there, but he is now onto the back of the train. He's got 9/10 of a second between himself and Midnight. We'll see if he's able to bring that one down. But this might actually bring Young Power into the fight if he can catch up to the train. He's only about 1.5, just under 1.5 seconds off the back as Wouters sets the fastest lap. That was probably due to the DRS that he had as well down the straightaway. Lap 16, big on here, and I think things is finally going to start to pick up.
Yeah, I think definitely at the front of the field. Blizzard had got fairly close to Duncan in the middle sector of that lap. He got a gap down to 2/10 of a second, but wasn't able to do anything about it. Duncan choosing not to take the slipstream from use there, maybe just to cool the engine down slightly, especially if you have been running in rich mode at various points in the race. That engine can get quite toasty, especially if you're in a train of cars as well. So Duncan, knowing he was safe there from Blizzard behind with the DRS, deciding to just hang on to that 3rd position for now. 17 runners still in this race. Christmas of only retirement after some contact, we believe, with Benjamin round where the pit entry was. Neither of those two drivers would have been coming into the pits again unless Benjamin was wanting to get rid of his hard tyres for set of soft. So not quite sure what happened between them. I'm sure there will be a steward's inquiry if there was anything untoward, but it has been a fairly clean race so far, and I think things are going to spice up. As Dan said, top 7 drivers all in this one train at the moment. Mish at the back of the train with the soft tyres. He's going to have the extra grip for now, but in the next couple of laps, don't be surprised if those tyres start falling away, and I think he knows that he's going to have to start making some overtakes pretty soon. He might even make it before we get to the DRS zone. Midnight here running out of ERS. Is he going to defend the inside line? He is indeed. Opens it slightly at the last minute. Mish sends one up the inside into the bus stop chicane, hops over the curb. You're not going to find much grip when you're in midair. He's got an absolutely fantastic exit though, using the extra grip of those red wall Pirelli straight round the outside. Both drivers having DRS. Nothing Midnight can do about that. Mish is up into 6th place. Now, can he just get back within that 1 second? Otherwise, he might be losing it very quickly.
Yeah, I don't think it was too smart for him to actually go for that move, because you can see he's used up everything. He's used all his resources. With the ERS, he's got 0% down the straightaway, and he's also lost the DRS to the drivers in front of him. So it's a really big worry for the rest of his race if he is able to actually keep up with these guys with Midnight coming back at him. Casper getting past Young Power, so it seems to be the beginning of the end for the debutant in F1, because he's got just a small gap between himself, between Waters and Ash Best as well, so hopefully he can maybe find a way to stay in the points for the sake of his race. But Mish, he's just about 1.3 seconds off the back. Is Young Power picking up a 3-second time penalty. That's his second of the day. I think I've brought the commentator's curse into full effect there.
Yeah, I think you have indeed. He's still doing okay in 9th position, but you can see Valters and Ash behind him on fresh set of soft tyres, and with all those penalties, don't be surprised if unfortunately he does miss out on some points. But I'm sure it's been a learning experience. Didn't realise he was guaranteed to be racing today until quite late on, so I'm sure he'll learn from this. I'm sure he'll be back stronger next time around at the Dutch Grand Prix. Back towards the lead of this race, and Wilson Hughes, 5 and a bit laps to go then. He's got Hughes all over the back of him at the moment. Again, both drivers in the 70s with ERS at the moment, going up as the energy recovery system works into the braking zone. Blizzard all over the back of Duncan on this occasion. I wonder whether he's going to have a try at a move here, but this DRS train really making things quite difficult. Jordan got a fantastic run out of La Source last time, just ran out of ERS when he really needed it, when he really needed to try and make that move. I think this is actually the closest Hughes has been for quite a while on the back of Wilson Hughes. Is it going to be close enough maybe to go for the lead of this race? And Alfa Romeo is closing in. It's closing in. Is it going to be close enough to maybe think about a lunge down the inside here into Lacombe? He's going to try and get alongside. In the end, just has to back out of it, as we had an absolutely dreadful camera there with some lovely Belgian scenery, but not what we wanted to be seeing as the cars are battling for the lead of this race at 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was unfortunate that Hughes wasn't able to make the move there. I think Wilson probably positioned his car in a very good position, made it hard to go for the overtake. It's pretty difficult to make a Hail Mary dive bomb like it is at some other corners. So Wilson having a little bit of a slide through Paul, and that was probably a bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for him. But yeah, he defended really well from Hughes there, to the point where he couldn't really force a move, so he just had to back off at the last second. Now he's lost a little bit of time to the McLaren driver. He's going to begin lap number 19 to through the final sector, of course. He's got to go through first, but he's going to begin lap number 19, and then he will just have a couple more runs to keep the lead, whilst Hughes had about 4 attempts to really try and strike on Wilson.
Yeah, well indeed. Jordan closing up to the back of Blizzard here, not quite close enough. I think Misha's used the best of those soft tyres. He's not been able to get within a second of Jordan, as I say, as it just ticks to that 1 second point, but he still hasn't got DRS down the start finish straight with 4 laps to go. Are we going to see Mish work his way further up the order, or is that pretty much it now for him? Are we going to see Hughes go for a move this time around? If anything, he is further behind than he was on the last occasion. Jordan gets pretty close to the back of Blizzard, but again, he's used all of his electrical energy. He has completely drained his battery and won't be able to make this move on the run down towards Lacombe. Someone who I think is going to be thinking about a move, though, is Valters. Gets a fantastic exit on Young Power, who's got no ERS. He's got no DRS, and unfortunately for him, that means he's got absolutely no chance of stopping the Renault getting ahead. Valters now up into 9th position, and still in the background, they're way outside the points, but they're having quite a fun race at the moment. Benjamin and Gamer for 16th and 17th. I think they're enjoying themselves out there.
Yeah, I think you can see the strategies actually coming out. They're trying to swap positions to give each other DRS, or try and take it off the other driver. They're just having fun here, as they're breaking down the straightaway. I think they do have to take it serious to some degree, but it is very fun to see. I do suppose Benjamin will have DRS on that occasion, but through the final sector, Wilson Hughes is just about to begin. He's at the line. He's going to have 3 laps left to go. He's led this race pretty much from the start, aside from when he was in the pit lane and he had to go and shuffle down the order. He's made his way back up after everyone else came to the pit, but this has been a really strong race for him.
Yeah, it has indeed. He's been quick where he needs to be quick. And you've got to say, apart from a couple of laps ago where Just almost got alongside, he's never really looked under threat for losing this race. Came out of the pit still in the net lead. Things are going quite well indeed. As Wouters, I said it was all going well for him. He's just got a 5-second penalty, straight penalty for corner cutting. So it looks like he's got a bit too optimistic at the bus stop, as I think Benjamin and Gamer are continuing their velodrome sprint racing at the moment. But Just, I said Wilson hasn't been under threat for a bit. That might have been a bit of commentator's curse, because this is definitely the closest Just has been on this occasion. Is Wilson going to have to defend the inside line here? No, seems quite happy to. You let Just take the lead then of this race. Alfa Romeo of Just into the lead. He was runner-up in the championship last season. He leads this race now. Importantly, it's lap 20 of this race, so if Wilson passes him next time around, Just knows he can fight back on the final lap of this race. So it will be interesting to see what Wilson does in about 90 seconds time.
It's going to go right down to the wire between the pair of these drivers. 3/10 is separating them. You can't count Duncan and Blizzard out. They are just sitting in the wings at the moment, waiting from behind. If there is a possible slip up from the drivers in front, they can nab that position off of them. So they're just staying careful at the moment. I believe those yellow flags in Sector 1 are Gamer and Benjamin displaying their shenanigans. A little bit of news further down the order. Ashbest has picked up a bit of front wing damage. He's dropped off quite heavily off the back of the drivers in front of him. And where LG is at the moment, I think AlphaTauri might actually pick up a point in this race. He's just got to keep it composed for these last couple of laps. And he could finally see the Italian team to a point-paying finish. But now, Wilson, he's going to have a crack at the whip on the back of the Dutchman. He's pushing the VSR driver through the corners as now coming through down the straightaway. Of course, you don't really want to make an overtake through turn number 1 because you won't have the DRS down the straightaway. Blizzard doesn't care. He's going to go right around the outside of Duncan. They make a little bit of contact. Damage for Blizzard, unfortunately. That's going to push him back into the path of Jordan. But here comes Wilson on lap 21. He's 3/10 back, 2.5. He's closing rapidly to the back of the Dutchman. Is he going to try and fight it down this straightaway? You know what? I think he's going to try and just hold off to maybe go for lap 22. In saying that, he's going right around the outside and getting very close to the rear, but he's going to stay back for the time being, and that tells me he wants to go for it in the last lap.
Yeah, it tells me that he's leaving it to the last lap as well. Both AlphaTauri drivers fighting on who gets the honour of getting that first point of the season. Recon getting ahead of Will LG then, so that is now the Shizou driver up into 12th position, and it is getting very exciting in this race. Wilson tried it last time around, couldn't quite get close enough. He had plenty of room on the inside, but I think he was quite happy to stay behind. Benjamin gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane as him and Gamer continue their synchronised slowing down act, even in the pits, I think. At the moment, they just know they're having a bit of fun, and as things stand at the moment, I'm going to quickly check how the championship is going to change after this race. As things stand at the moment, who is going to end up taking the lead of the championship? It's still going to be Gamer because of how close things are. Sam Yubin would be in second and Jordan would stay in third position. That could all change though if we get a change for the lead of this race. 1 lap to go at the end of this one. I wonder if Hughes is going to think about maybe just running a bit wide into La Source and maybe giving Wilson the lead of this race at that point.
I think Wilson is actually trying to future-proof it here, just backing off through the final corner here onto the straightaway. He goes into the back of him. He almost made a slight bit of contact, and I don't think he's got damage. But now this is going to be the time for Wilson to really push. They're blitzing everything on the run up towards Eau Rouge for the final time in this Grand Prix. It's going to be now or never. He's got to lay it all on the line. Here it comes. Wilson Hughes using it down the straightaway. He's got no answer, Doug Hughes, to the outside line. Wilson Hughes takes the lead of the race.
Great move there by Wilson Hughes. Just, I think like you said, he was trying to future-proof it, locked up almost on the run down towards turn 1. Don't think it really cost either of them too much time, and Wilson now in the lead, and Hughes with a bit less ERS. I think even if he wanted to maybe fight back into the bus stop, he's not going to be able to do. Further back, Casper getting up into 7th place, working his way ahead of Midnight. So it looks like the VSR driver is on for by far his best race of this season so far. Duncan came under a bit of pressure from Blizzard there, but was just able to hold off. So it still looks pretty good for Alfa Romeo in the Constructors' Championship, but just 1 and a bit sectors to go now for last season's champion. He's not had the best of luck so far this season. He's not actually had an on-track podium, getting the one last week with a penalty for Benjamin. Not that I think he cared too much, and I don't think he'll care one iota if he ends up taking the victory in this race. It has been a bit of a while for Sparks. Hasn't won since round 7 out of 12 last season at the Russian Grand Prix. And if he just keeps it nice and clean through the bus stop, our reigning champion, he's making a bit of a statement here from pole position, almost led the entire way. Wilson Hughes takes the victory. Hughes will cross the line in second. Duncan makes it 2 VSR drivers on the podium. It is a fourth place for Blizzard. Mish goes up to 5th in the end. Casper goes up to 6th. Still the 2 drivers are at it for AlphaTauri, and I think in the end Will having a bit of a spin there. So Recon gets the final points. Jordan 7th, Midnight 8th, Valters 9th. Recon is in 10th position. Simo Young Power on his debut just missing out there. Will LG 13th. Ash in 14th. Looked pretty promising for him early on, as he was the lead medium runner for quite a bit, getting that damage just costing him. Samuel being his 15th, and Benjamin and Gamer will be their final finishers. But a dominant, a champion's performance from Wilson.
It's been a pretty slow start to the season for Wilson, but now he's finally going to get the ground running for his championship defense, of course. So we look back to last season, Gil did not have a good championship run, and it seems like that curse of being the champion has finally been lifted. I think Wilson, he's finally going to start putting in those performances that he needs to be right at the top of the standings. It's been a brilliant performance from him. That is 2 podiums in a row, and finally his first win of the season. What a performance.
Yeah, fantastic performance from him, and that actually does now move him up into second for the championship, just 1 point behind his teammate. If he'd got the fastest lap in that race, he would be leading the championship. Driver of the day for NWS Beach. Pretty decent performance from him, from the in-game fans, of course, going on an alternate strategy and getting another top 5. No questionable driving from Wilson, but a few questionable dance moves there on the podium. He takes the victory here. Hughes getting his first podium of the season as well in second place, and Duncan as well in third. So 4th race of the season, and we've got we've got someone getting their first win of the year and 2 other drivers getting their first podiums of the year. You can see how close things are in this field and in this championship. But the provisional results then from a fantastic Belgian Grand Prix. Wilson taking his first victory of the season. Alfa Romeo doing their championship ambitions in the constructors no harm whatsoever, with 22 points for Hughes in second. Duncan in third. Blizzard finishes in 4th, his first point since round 1 of the season. Mish takes 5th on that alternate strategy. Casper's best result in 6th. Jordan, that lack of ERS and that 3-second penalty really costing him in the end. He only finishes in 7th. Midnight takes 8th, his first points and his first race as a full-time driver. Volters in 9th. Recon makes it a very Shazoo feel to the bottom order of the points there. Simo in 11th place. Bit of a quiet race for him, just missing out on points in the end. Young Power, fantastic start to his career in F1, finishing in 12th. Willow G, Ash Best, Samuel Bean, CRG Gamer, who obviously had that front wing damage earlier on. Benjamin, the final finishers, and the only retiree from the race was Christmas, of course. And, well, brilliant driving, you've got to say, from Wilson in the end. I wonder what Youth's reaction will be to that little love tap into La Source.
Yeah, it could be, maybe if he's feeling it, he could report it, but I don't see anything coming of that. I think it was just a slight mistake coming out from Wilson. I think maybe Juice was a little bit heavy on the brakes as well, but well, if he does decide to report that, that will be completely up to the steward. But for now, Wilson, he's in the waiting room at the moment, but he will be he'll be feeling that one. He'll be very happy today.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, can you tell he's eager to make his way into the interview box, into the commentary box at some point this season? I think he'd barely even put the message in the Twitter chat. He was turning up his way into the commentary box. But for the first time this season, getting an interview, taking a victory for the first time this year, it is our reigning champion, Wilson Hughes. You must be absolutely delighted with that way that race went. Got a pole position and got a victory, but it wasn't exactly that comfortable towards the end.
Yeah, well, you're right. I'm fairly happy with that. I mean, after a tough few races that aren't really up to my standards, the last few ones, I'm very happy with that. I mean, you can't really get much better than the win apart from a fastest lap. So I'll take it at the end there. Yeah, it was a bit weird. You broke really early and went really wide, and I just tapped the back. I stayed off. I tapped the back of him, and then I stayed off throttle to let him go. So yeah, I don't know if he's mad about that, but yeah, we'll see what happens about that. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm extremely happy about it.
Yeah, fantastic result. Is there anything you've changed in the way you've been preparing for the races? Because the first few, it seemed more like bad luck rather than anything that was affecting you. Obviously, Singapore, I think it was just luck for anyone in that race with the different strategies. Bahrain short, we said before, very unique circuit. You got a podium last time about. Have you changed anything, or did you always believe, no, if I just carry on the way I've been doing, eventually things will come good like they have tonight?
Well, no, not really. I just drove like the champion I am.
Definite confidence. I'll let Dan ask you any questions that he may have.
Right. Hi, Wilson.
Hi, Daniel.
So, with your win today, that makes it 4 winners in 4 races. Next week we head to Zandvoort. Are you going to be looking to break that streak possibly and take a second win in a row?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Zandvoort's never been one of my strong tracks, so we'll have to wait and see. Practice will be a little bit more minimum. I've got some other duties on in life, but yeah, we'll still push hard for that and see what we can do. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm sure I'll be pretty quick, even if it is one of my bad tracks.
And just bringing back the attention to Belgium, how's the confidence really coming into this race after, as you say, a tough couple of races? Were you really expecting to take such a dominant victory?
Yeah, I felt pretty good. I was expecting the win, and that's what I've done. So yeah, I'm very happy with it.
Well, I think I'll let you get away and have some celebration food. I think you deserve it. But really well done today, and hopefully next week in Zandvoort you can replicate a similar performance.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, congratulations, Wilson, on what was a fantastic victory.
Thanks.
We're now going to bring in the man who was the only other person who really looked like winning that race at any point, had the lead for a lap, came so close and just got past on the final lap of that race, but still a first podium of the season for yourself. Used, tell us about that final lap of the race. There was a tiny bit of contact between yourself and Wilson.
Yeah, and turn one, I don't know what happened. I think he brakes a bit too late. Then he hit me and I had a big snap and a bad exit. So, yeah, pretty disappointing with that.
Still a brilliant result for yourself. A bit like Wilson, you've not had the best of luck so far this season on getting a second place here, and I think with how close things are in the championship, as we do get the provisional championship standings up at this moment in time, it has boosted yourself up into 7th, and you're still within a race win of the lead. Does this give you a lot of confidence for the rest of the season?
2 bad races before this one, so it gives me some confidence. So happy with the points and with the race.
I'll pass you over to Dan, see if he has any questions.
Yeah, I'd just like to go back to that incident on the final lap with Wilson. Of course, you two are fighting for the lead. Do you think you'll be reporting that one to the stewards and seeing what they have to say about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Oh.
Because I had lower wings, so I'm not sure, but maybe I had to keep in front of Sparks. So. Nah, we will see.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see what the stewards say about that. But regardless, it was a really strong week from you, and hopefully in Zandvoort, your home Grand Prix. Of course, I'm really hoping the best for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Used, on your first podium of the season, and best of luck for the Dutch Grand Prix.
Thanks.
And we'll bring in now the second VSR driver on the podium, the second Alfa Romeo driver on the podium as well, getting his first trip to the top 3 this season. It is VSR Duncan. A fantastic race from yourself, but it kind of suffered, along with a few others, of being stuck in that DRS train. Did you feel like you were never really able to push and try and get ahead of Wilson or Used?
Well, Blizzard behind me was also pushing some pressure on me. So I was more focused on him, actually. So, yeah, unluckily I couldn't make a move on Wilson or Juiced.
I mean, tell us what it's like for a driver in that scenario, because we know Dirty Air is more powerful on that game. Do you just try to save a bit of ERS, a bit of fuel, and maybe go for it later on in the race, or do you stay as close to the car ahead of you to see if they end up making a mistake?
Yeah, that's actually I think the hardest part in league racing, especially with these DRS trains. Yeah, in the early race, my main goal was to save as much ERS as possible for the medium stint. Worked out quite well. I was able to defend against Blizzard, so really happy with that. And yeah, I think it worked out well.
Yeah, fantastic result for Alfa Romeo today. Puts Alfa Romeo, I think, up into second in the Constructors' Championship and puts yourself up into sixth. 6 races to go. Do you think you can challenge for the title?
Well, I will do everything I can to score as much points, as many points. Yeah, I don't know. 6 races. Uh, don't know the calendar, but yeah, everything can happen.
It definitely can. I'll pass you over to Dan, see if he's got any questions.
Yeah, so first of all, I'd just like to say really well done on the podium. It's a strong drive from yourself today. And just going back to some of your other results in this season, you've slowly been racking up the points. You know, you didn't have the best start to the season, but now you are in some pretty strong points. Coming into the next Grand Prix, of course, your home race, the same as used in the Netherlands at Zandvoort. How's the confidence around that circuit, and do you think you can possibly challenge for the win?
Well, I had a league race yesterday around Sandford, so that was actually pretty helpful. And yeah, I was confident around there, so I think it's really good for me.
And just quickly, I picked up on an incident between yourself and Blizzard, which actually resulted in Blizzard getting a bit of damage. I believe it was at La Source, turn number 1, where you went around the outside. Can you just quickly walk us through that incident and what really happened there?
Yeah. I knew he was gonna go for a move, so I defended the inside. So he goes to the outside, and maybe I was a little bit too far on the outside as well. So he outbraked me, but his right front wing hits my left front tire. So yeah, it was unlucky. Nothing more to say about that.
Yeah, it just seems like a little bit of an unfortunate event between the pair of you. But I think I'll let you get away because you had a really strong drive today, really good pace to keep up with the leaders, and really well done today.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Duncan, on your first podium of the season.
Thanks.
So, Dan, a very interesting race today. Some of the drivers, perhaps, that we would have, no disrespect to those that we've seen so far, take victories this season. Perhaps some of the ones we'd have expected more to be fighting at the front, like, for example, our top 2 last season, Wilson and Used, and it might not all be over yet. What was your opinion on that incident between the top 2 finishers?
I think it is very touch and go on what happens. There really are 2 sides to the story. I think Youth was probably trying to go for the strategy that we saw Gamer and Benjamin while they were right at the back. They were trying to perfect where you'd actually let the driver behind you go through and then pick up the DRS down the straightaway. That just didn't work out for him, and it was a slight tap to the rear. I'm not too sure if the stewards would penalise it. If I had to give my personal point of view, I think it was just a racing incident. It was really easy to do, and it was a simple error from either driver, I suppose. I think maybe Wilson broke a little bit too late and juiced a little bit too early, and yeah, it just caused the incident. But I probably personally wouldn't penalise it.
Yeah, I've got to say I agree with you. It might be one of those where you'd probably maybe even want to look at how the drivers broke into that corner the lap before to see if either one of them did break earlier or later than usual. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, all the stewards' results will be posted on Twitter. We'll be back next week at the Zandvoort circuit, the second time on this game, the second time in PSGL history. Of course, for the Dutch Grand Prix, a very tight, twisty circuit there, so qualifying will be all important. Make sure to check that out at 8 p.m. Before that, though, there is, as usual, some classic car action coming live tomorrow around Monza in one of the fastest cars in a straight line in F1 history, the 2003 Williams BMW car. Then the regular league action starts from Zandvoort on Thursday with F11 and F12. Sunday has F8, F9 and F10. There is F1 to F7, of course, on the Monday. Make sure also to check out PSG PC with George Morgan and Jack Canan at 7 p.m. on Thursday. But for myself and Dan, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining in for us from what was a very interesting race. And it just proves sometimes that sometimes for top guys, they don't have to buy their way to the top. They can earn their way up with some fantastic performances. Wilson takes his first victory of the season. Will he make it 2 in a row next time out? Will he have a different winner of the season? 5 out of 5 races. You'll have to tune in and see. Thank you so much, everyone, and goodbye.